back to News Geelong. Femme Fatale is a current exhibition at the National War Museum that looks at the fascinating true stories of Sydney's most notorious female criminals, as Meryl Friend reports.
Femme Fatales, the female criminals uncovered. This is the only place in Victoria where it's being seen, and we were able to speak with the National War Museum Director, Gordon Johnston.
Femme Fatale, the female criminal, is a look at the female criminal in reality, but also to their representation in myth, religion, and popular culture, and a whole range of other areas.
And there's a stunning amount of information here about things like the shape of the woman's head and their resemblance to men, and some very intriguing detail.
Yeah, that was some of the very earliest theories as to why women were criminals, which really was, if you had a jaw that looked like a man's jaw, it's a possibility you're a criminal. Or if you had a shape of your head, it could be maybe the shape was a little bit flat or whatever, it could also say something about your personality as well.
And then you've also got some women in history who were reforming female prisoners as well?
Yes, that's actually Rose Scott. She was a very important figure in the very early days of the criminal history of Australia, and she really fought to try and get better conditions for female criminals, because, as you can imagine, the very early days of colonial status in Australia, it was certainly a pretty harsh world.
Yeah, and there are a few sort of gruelling tales in here, but there's also some stunning Hollywood stories as well.
There is. One of the representations of women in crime was the Femme Fatale character, and the Femme Fatale character was very famous in films. That was a woman who dressed seductively, had the red lips, but was ruthless and could really get men to do what she needed them to do. Some of those, of course, were Barbara Stanwyck was one. Bette Davis played those sorts of characters as well. There were many, many, many films in that vein.
And this is one of the only places you can see it in the state.
Yes, to date we are the only location this exhibition is coming to in Victoria.
Oh, well, and it runs until...
runs until June 13, and I've got to get the bit in about the upcoming series of Underbelly. The next series coming up is to do with the Sydney Razor Gangs, and that was two women primarily, Telly Devine and Kate Lee. Both of those characters actually figure in the exhibition. There's background information to them.
From the National War Museum, Meryl Friend, News Geelong.
Thank you, Meryl. Time for Youth's Meals Club provides subsidised meals for vulnerable young people, as Debbie Meany reports.
Youth Homelessness Matters Week is on, and we're here at the Cafe Meals Breakfast. I spoke with Jill Whelan from the breakfast to tell us about what this service provides to the youth in Geelong. Greenie and Luke, tell us, what do these guys do for you?
Free breakfast every Wednesday morning. Yeah? Gives us something to eat.
Okay.
Just gets the breakfast. If you just wake up, you don't get anything to eat. Just come to school, get free breakfast, free juice.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. And there's a lot of people that come down here, so it must be a very popular service.
Yeah, it is. Heaps of people are here during lunch and everything.
Yeah. And a good network of people that you've gotten to know as well. That's just good support.
Yeah, well, it's usually get both programs at school, because there's two different programs at Diversitat here, and Wednesdays are both days you get them here, so you get 30 plus people coming in instead of just the 12.
And they're from a lot of backgrounds as well, so can you tell me a bit about that?
Different kind of kids come here, some with bad backgrounds, some that just didn't like the actual mainstream school.
Okay, the program started in 2005. We did a research project looking at the nutrition of homeless young people in Geelong. Out of that project, we of course found that their nutrition was really poor, and we went looking for interventions on how we might help these young people. The project that we chose to implement was actually from a program we saw operating in the city of Yarra in Melbourne, so it was called the Cafe Meals program. We presented to the young people about 8 different programs that might happen, and it's the young people that chose Cafe Meals for Geelong, so that's where it came from. We have received philanthropic funding ever since then to run the program. We got an initial grant from Percy Baxter Perpetual Trust, and other trusts have kept it going, and the William Buckland Foundation gave us lots of money last year for a 2-year really serious evaluation about what we're doing, why we're doing it, what impact we're having, to hopefully actually get some evidence and get some government support behind this project. Cafe Meals, as the core program, is where the young person goes to a cafe and pays $3 to the cafe, and they get a meal up to the value of $12. So it's to encourage them to have at least one good healthy meal a day, rather than what might be a high-fat takeaway option instead. They're kids who are either homeless, at risk of homelessness, or otherwise vulnerable.
At Time for Youth in Geelong, this is Debbie Meany for News Geelong.
Thank you, Debbie. Bells Beach pipelines are not just related to the great ocean swells that we experience at Easter time. Ian Nichols reports.
We are on site at the iconic Bells Beach on the Surf Coast, and it's a furious pace that workmen are using at the moment to prepare for this upcoming 50th running of the iconic Rip Curl Pro. There's going to be people coming from all over the world for this event, but we're here today to look at what's happening down on the beach, because there's been quite a lot of work done in restoring a pipeline which was made of asbestos and is now a new rock swale pipe been put in place by the Surf Coast Shire. And we're talking with the Mayor, Dean Webster.
Along with the Great Ocean Road, Bells Beach is one of the most iconic venues on our coastline, and we're doing our best to keep up to scratch with the maintenance. It has been neglected, I'll admit, over the last years. We haven't had funds to put towards it, but now we've got support from the state government, and we're implementing priority components of the master plan. And we're certainly not intending it to encourage it to be a tourist mecca. We are fixing the drainage issues and fixing the toilet issues. It's an old septic system which causes some environmental issues. We'll be fixing that. But recently an old asbestos drain was damaged by a member of the community, and that had the potential to spread asbestos onto the beach. So we had to do some priority works to fix that issue up. In the long run, that's a short-term fix. In the long run, we'll be fixing the whole drainage system out there, and to some cost of $500,000.
Now, you describe this as a new rock drain. This is sort of the latest technology in drainage, isn't it?
The swales are commonly used now around estates, but this is just an interim measure because there was a pipe joining a pit. We'll put a swale in there, a rock swale, to reduce erosion. But it is a measure to do that. But in the long run, we'll be putting in a drainage system to divert the water away from that area into another creek system nearby to reduce the erosion near the cliff.
We know that there's been a Bells Beach master plan which covers the whole precinct, if you like to put it that way. This is just a little bit of a hiccup for you at the moment?
There is some issues there, mainly around funding, and there was some bad press which scared a couple of our funding partners at the federal government away. We had some money was going to be promised to us, but because of the bad press they pulled out.
At Bells Beach, which will be the scene of the Rip Curl Pro in just over 2 weeks' time, this is Ian Nichols for News Geelong.
Thank you, Nico. This is News Geelong as we go to a break and return with sport and weather after this.